Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. Want to give you guys a quick update on the Juggernaut AI training program. I'm going to break this over into the course of 2 weeks and 2 videos. I've been getting a lot of questions and I hesitated in making this video today only because I didn't know if I wanted to wait another week until this deload was over, which would then update all of my routine because I'm going to be transitioning from a hypertrophy block to a strength training block. But I thought to myself, I ramble a lot. I stretch these videos out longer than they need to be. So let's just do one video on the max effort week, which I just completed. And then in another week, we'll do another update on the strength training block and how things are different. So as I said last week, max effort week. It's my second in 9 weeks on the program. And I can say that it went very well overall. I'll touch upon all 3 lifts that I did max effort for. They all went up in weight. But I had a little bit of a hiccup, and this is gonna tie into a question that I've been getting from a lot of people regarding this program, which is in regards to volume. Is it too much? Do you have trouble completing the workouts? And I can say in the 9 weeks or 8.5 weeks that I've been doing this program, it hasn't been an issue for the most part. There's been 2 instances where it's been an issue, and both of those instances I've been on the max effort weeks. And a lot of that I feel like is my fault. So the way we're doing in the hypertrophy block, the volume increases to the max effort week, as well as the intensity. So on those days, it's not only very high volume, but very high intensity relative to the rest of the training block. And for me, the way the program works is you have certain exercises that it recommends, but you can also swap out others depending on what you feel like training. Again, it'll give you a list of recommended ones you can do. I tend to favor the barbell movements, the heavier barbell movements, benching, squatting, deadlifting. So when I have something where I'm squatting for my main set of the week, and then I have back off bench and I have back off deadlifts, it just adds up, especially when you're doing heavier intensities. And I have the tendency, unfortunately, to take a long time between sets, dilly-dally, take pictures or do things for YouTube, respond to your questions and emails during my downtime, or I'm probably stretching those training sessions longer than they need to be. And it really comes to a head on those max effort weeks because I'm working up to, like a heavy set at RPE 10 and then having like 5 back off sets of that, then having to go to bench and then having to go to deadlift. And normally outside of the max effort weeks, a lot of times I try to superset stuff in order to expedite the training, and it's not as heavy being in a hypertrophy block where it becomes a problem. But on those max effort weeks, I really try to focus on that main lift and not do that. So it just ends up taking more time overall. So those are the only times I've had problems with the volume. And again, it's really up to you. You could probably swap out other exercises that are easier to transition to or to superset in. Or for instance, you could switch it up to a 5 or 6 day routine, which would spread volume out more. But for me on 4 days, it's only been a problem during those max effort weeks. And it's more, I think, my fault. Now, speaking of my fault, even though this max effort week went really well, there were a couple of wrenches thrown into the system because I had a ton of lower body fatigue, but not because of the actual training. In fact, training has been going phenomenally well, and I've been rating that accordingly in the app, and it's really been increasing and throwing more work at me, which I've been able to handle very well up until this point. The big problem is a couple of weeks ago, we got a Peloton. We initially bought it for my wife. She was looking for something to do for cardio, and we were looking at a couple options, and we settled on a Peloton, mostly because at first I thought, hey, this is probably the smallest footprint cardio piece of equipment we can get in. But I gotta be honest, I like using that thing a lot. In fact, I've been doing it every single day since we've got it. And I maybe got a little bit too involved up front because I'm very competitive, and that really scratches my competitive itch. And I was really pushing myself, and your boy's not a biker, but I've been turning into Floyd Landis or Lance Armstrong, and unfortunately, the only 2 cyclists that I can mention are also 2 that got busted for doping. But I did way too much, way too early, and it really caught up to me and really fatigued my lower body in terms of my stamina. Now, luckily enough for me, when it came to the max effort week on day 1, what I had to do was work up to a heavy squat set of RPE 10, set of 6 for paused, and I ended up going with 435 pounds, which was 20 pounds more than my last max effort week, which was just 4 weeks ago, and I rated that at a 6.5. So things went fantastic there, can't complain, even though again, my lower body felt awful. Now, from the last max effort week that I uploaded, a lot of people asked the question, because a similar thing happened where I rated a very low RPE, hey, why didn't you bump it up and try another set? And in this case, especially, I know because my body was so fatigued, my stamina wasn't there. And if I take a look at the back off work, which was another 5 sets of 6, the weights dropped and the RPE went up. So I know my stamina wasn't there. So if I tried to go heavier, it would have just been a bad idea overall. And again, I had the long-term game plan in play. This wasn't a 1 rep max attempt I was going for. It was a 6 rep max And again, I'd rather just undershoot it and feel really good about myself going into the next sessions. Now, I mentioned already these max effort days can be tough for me volume-wise, because after that, not only did I have bench, but I also had pause 1-inch deadlifts off the floor. And it was at this point where I decided to kind of cut the actual work for the 1-inch deadlifts off the floor. My lower back and lower body was just super fatigued. It's been snowing here in the Northeast. I've been out there shoveling, and I knew I had an actual max effort deadlift set coming up in a couple of days, so I didn't really do too much there, which is good. Again, what I've done is it basically putting in the feedback into the system to say that I've been ready, I can handle more work, and it had my readiness at a very high level. But after this max effort week and trying to answer as honestly as possible, it dropped my readiness down significantly, which kind of was a shot to my ego. But I know that's the right thing to do because my body did have a hard time keeping up with, again, the volume and the intensity. So day 2 for training, no max effort work. I'll probably flash on screen what I had to do, but I won't show you any clips because I didn't film that day. A day off, and then day 3, the max effort work was deadlift. And for this case, it was 1 inch off the floor, so a deficit deadlift. I actually ended up doing 1.5 inches. That's just typical for me. I use stall mats on top, 2 stacked on top of each other. Again, ended up being able to up the weight by 20 pounds. The RP on this one was actually pretty tough. Again, my lower body was super fatigued. And one of the things that I found in just my general training is it's hard for me to recover from deadlifts. And normally when I do other training, I probably program deadlifts maybe 1 to 1.5 times per week. So we'll have some other type of variation to do. Right now, based off how I've been responding to the training, I think it actually has me over 2 times per week frequency on deadlifts, which has been great because I've been able to handle it and I've been able to progress. My body's been handling it. But with that Peloton and the lower body fatigue, it was very tough on that max out. But again, added 20 pounds, 515 for a set of 6 from a 1.5 inch deficit, which I think is a big win. And my deadlifts have been feeling really good, which I'm really happy about. Then on day 4, I had another max effort. In this case, it was bench. It was wide grip. And the way I'm doing wide grip bench is I'm trying to go as wide as possible. So for me on this Rogue rack with the J cups I have, it's basically going 1 inch outside of the actual ring marks. Typically for bench, I use my middle fingers on that. So it ends up being like 3 inch wider per side. But I got a set of 10 at 255, I believe, for a relatively decent RPE. Bench has been feeling super strong, and it's been interesting because I'm literally pressing 4 times per week, which is every single training session with really good amounts of volume too. So after that, I did 5 or 6 back off sets of 10 with like 225, and bench has just been feeling phenomenal in terms of the volume work that I'm doing. So overall, max effort week went very good. I'm very excited to see how it's going to differ going into a strength training phase and what, if any, of the accessory work gets dropped, but also upping the intensity some because I don't think I've done anything less really than a set of 6 on stuff. So I'm interested to see how that's going to translate over from the hypertrophy block to the strength training block when hopefully we're going to start doing maybe sets of 3 or doubles. And I don't think there's going to be any singles programmed anytime soon, but again, I'm excited to see that and really excited to see where the program goes. So overall, I really like it so far. And again, I'll give you guys an update next week once I get some more feedback. But I also want to take this time to really thank Built Bars. You guys have seen me plug them a couple of times over the past couple of months. In fact, I would actually say they've sponsored this entire initial training block for me the past 8 weeks or so. I've been chewing on these things during those longer training sessions, especially those max effort weeks. I like them a lot. Again, each bar has somewhere between 16 to 20 grams of protein. They're all under 200 calories. They have really good ingredients, and there's 18 different flavors for you to choose from. Again, I'm partial more to the cookies and cream, but you can save 20% off your order if you use the link in the description box below. So go ahead and click it and let me know if you tried them and if you like them and what's your favorite flavor. But we appreciate them sponsoring this first initial block, and we welcome them sponsoring the next block if they want to take on any more. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.